welcome to another exciting episode of the OG of Good Game with your host, the original guru, Zero Game. On today's exciting episode, we are going to talk about reparations, the no-cost plan, how to make it happen, how to implement it, and how to make it beneficial for all those who want to be part of it. So let's get into that right now. Hello, everyone. Thank you once again for tuning in to the OG of Good Game with your host, Zero Game. That would be me. And I want to give a shout out to everybody who liked, who shared, who commented, who downloaded, who just showed me some love. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. From the bottom of my heart, I really do appreciate it. And I hope that you stick with me on this journey because this is going to be a long time coming event. And I don't plan on slowing down no time soon. Anyway, we're going to get into this episode today of reparations, the no-cost plan. But before I get into that, I want to clarify something from last week's episode about our community safety and security program. And I want to be very clear on the section where we speak about the security and safety patrol people walking around the community, and like I said, kind of like the Black Panthers used to do when they legally carried their guns. I want to say do the same thing, but I want to put just a little tweak to it. And for all of those who will be walking around legally able to carry a firearm and possess a firearm and all of that good stuff, the tweak I want to put in is to use rubber bullets. So in that way, we don't have to worry about every time a situation arises that it might be a lethal situation. At least this way, we can scale back on how lethal our interactions is with one another and with law enforcement. And I would also recommend that we all go out and petition. Now, I know everybody talking about the defund the police. Now, I don't really believe in defunding the police. I just believe in changing how the police, how they're utilized in our communities. And one of the things that I would like to see happen is that a mandated ordinance, law, whatever it needed to be, that the first 6 bullets in the clip of any officer's gun is a rubber bullet. Because if you hit a motherfucker with 6 shots, if that ain't put that motherfucker down or at least got them to step the fuck back from attacking or advancing towards you, then you need to use lethal force. But I believe if we did this, then Rashard Brooks would not be dead. Walter Scott would not be dead. Mike Brown would not be dead. Trayvon Martin would not be dead. Tamir Rice would not be dead. And I think this is a reasonable request that we start mandating that all law enforcement across the country, in every city, in every county, in every state, first 6 bullets in your clip, and then we can allow for extended clips, but the first 6 bullets coming out of that gun are rubber bullets. And this may cut down death rate that seems to come about when an officer gets a little over anxious, a little rambunctious, or he just so scared he's shitting in his pants and he figured that the only way I'm going to save my ass is to take your ass out. So that's just my recommendation. That's the tweak I wanted to put, that our community security and safety patrol have rubber bullets in their guns when they're patrolling our neighborhoods, but they have the option of switching over to lethal ammo by changing the clip. Now, I know that might put a little delay on what they can do, but if we all work together and be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem, then all of this can be taken care of, and we can finally have a safe community for our children, for ourselves, and for future generations to come. Okay, now I got that out the way. That was the tweak I wanted to get into, and I wanted to bring that back to the last week's episode that I meant to put in there, but I kind of forgot. But listen, people, I'm an amateur, and this is all new to me. Working it as I go along, I'm learning as I go along, and I do appreciate y'all hanging in there with me as I learn. And that's pretty much what this show is all about. Learn your truth, speak your truth, live your truth. And that's what we're doing here. Learning our truth, speaking our truth, and living that truth. So right now, we're going to get into learning some truth. And the learning on that truth is reparations. Now, I know a lot of people see that as a financial compensation. And I can understand where you come from with that, but let's be real. They ain't going to do that. I mean, we going to keep on arguing and fighting. It's going to be another 100 years, and we still going to be arguing and fighting, and they going to still keep telling us we ain't going to do that. So why not change the parameters and say, well, okay, don't give me the money, but this is what I want. Now, this is a 3-section alternative that I have for reparations. And the first alternative would be for the 40 acres. The second alternative would be for the $50 we were promised. And the third alternative would be the mule that they promised. So right now, we're going to get into the 40-acre promise that they didn't give us. Because after slavery, we were supposed to all get 40 acres, $50, and a mule. So let's talk about the 40-acre compensation and how can they compensate us for that. Well, my idea is simply this: to revive the Homestead Act, but for abandoned towns only. So in other words, instead of giving us 40 acres, let us take over these abandoned towns, these ghost towns, ones that nobody in anymore, and they just sitting there crumbling and falling apart. Allow us to go in, allow us to claim this town under the Homestead Act, allow us to name it and, do what all we need to do to make it an official town. Because, see, people, the infrastructure is already there. We just have to build upon it. This being an abandoned town, it gives us the opportunity to create the kind of community that we want instead of the kind of community that we struggle to try to find to live in, and we keep coming across the same roadblock that we just can't seem to find that community that respects all people of all colors, of all races, of all religions. It's always going to be that outlier or that one thing that changes it from that community to a community that you got to protest in or worry about, your neighbors calling the police on you and this, that, and the other. And that's just getting to be too fucking much. Especially when you got people living in these neighborhoods who believed in the American dream, who did everything right to attain the American dream. And finally, when they feel like they accomplished something towards the American dream, then those who already live in the American dream want to tell you that you shouldn't be here. You don't have the right to be here. We don't want you around here. And we're going to keep harassing you until you leave here. And that's pretty much what seems to be happening in America. We get a lot of African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, Middle Eastern Americans who busted their ass doing the right thing, followed the laws, paid their taxes, did what they supposed to do to achieve the American dream. And when they get there, all they face is discrimination and hatred for doing what they are being told you have to do in order to be accepted into America. And they did everything they were supposed to do. And they still got to put up with this shit. And it's just getting too much. And it's just, it's not sustainable in its current form. It really ain't. And as you can see with the protests on the street, they showing you it's not sustainable. So let's switch how we do this. So instead of striving and working and busting your ass to go live in that neighborhood only to face racism and bigotry and all kind of other, abhorrent behavior that you really shouldn't have to put up with, considering you doing the right thing. You a law-abiding citizen. You pay your taxes. You do everything. You go to work. You have a family. You taking care of your family. You doing all the shit that they praise and hold so high when it's for them. But when you doing it, then all of a sudden it's, oh, you ain't this, you ain't that. What you doing in this neighborhood? You don't live here. You shouldn't be here. And it's all that kind of, ignorance. So that's why I said, revive the Homestead Act. Allow us to transition into these abandoned towns, these ghost towns, and allow us to create our own community and our own society, this reflective of an all-inclusive society where we openly welcome all variations of people to come in and be a part of the society. Now, as far as it go, who has any legal right, then that would actually have to be descendants of slaves. And I'm sorry, the rest of the races and people out there, but this is our reparations and it need to be for us. That doesn't mean we don't want to share with the rest of the world. And that should be our goal, to receive our reparations, but open up our communities to say the rest of the world, please come in if you believe in what we believe in and be a part of our community. If you believe in openness, honesty, fairness, respect, and equal treatment of everyone, then you should want to be a part of this movement as much as you possibly can, beyond just marching and carrying a sign. Let's build our own communities. We should have the same rules as Native American reservations in these communities, which means no federal, no state, no county, no city, no police, no law enforcement jurisdiction within our respective town, city, community, abandoned, whatever it turns out to be. Now, only for violent federal and state crimes do I say, yeah, open the door. Because, listen, we trying to have a community where there is no crime, where I don't have to worry about whether my grandchildren or my children going to go outside and play, that I got to worry about somebody hurting them, harming them, or molesting them. We don't want that. We want peace. We want tranquility. We want openness. We want fairness for everybody who lived there. If you think you're going to run off, come live with us and then leave out and then go do some stupid ass crime that's against federal law or state law or county law or city law, and then you gonna think you gonna run up in our area and then hide out and then have all them fuckers on our ass about turning you over, you got another thing coming, because we will gift wrap your ass up and hand you the fuck over to him and say, here. Now, whatever law he's guilty of, prosecute him fairly under the law. If you find them guilty, sentence them accordingly. If you don't find them guilty, release them. But do it under the fairness of the law. Because we not just going to, hand you over to some ass whoopers. We going to take you to a location that they are at and say, here, we have captured the so-and-so person you are looking for, and we are proactively turning him over to your custody. And we going to take pictures of the person and everything to make sure that when they go to court or whatever, they ain't coming in there with both eyes swollen, nose broke, missing teeth, and ass just beat to high heaven. That can't happen. We got to stop that bullshit too. I just wanted to get that in there, and I just wanted to say it that way because it might be a little bit harsh, but it need to be said. And that's the honest to God truth. So that's the truth that we just learned, because we don't need any jurisdiction. We need to be able to regulate and deal with our own people in our community ourselves and stop looking for outside help to come in and assist us, because as you can see, they don't do much for as far as assistance when it comes to us. We call the police because we need their assistance, and turn around, we get arrested for calling. How the fuck is that possible? I'm the one that called the police and you arrested me? Just don't make sense, but it just seems to be that way. So until this culture within the police department is eliminated or curbed or controlled, our best bet is to get the fuck out of their cities. Get the fuck away from them to where we are nowhere near them, and let them assholes work that shit out themselves while we create our own utopia, because that's what we gonna do. We gonna create a utopia up in this joint, because we got all the technology at our disposal, and we can create homes and buildings and everything you need out of hemp. Google hempcrete and check it out and see if I'm not bullshitting when I say that hempcrete is the very thing we need to create our own cities, our own communities, and be environmentally conscious at the same damn time with a renewable source that we can make and grow right there on the spot. Only takes 12 weeks for hemp to grow for you to harvest it to turn it into hempcrete. So we plant enough of it, we can put up 3, 4, 5 homes every 12 weeks.